What do you think Russia's war aims are, and have they changed over time, or are they still the same war aims when they invaded to take over?
That's a kind of like a big question, but overall the aim was always the same, and it kind of remains the same. It's just the appetite is different, and ambitions might change, like just the level of ambitions, and also the ways they pursue them might change. But the goal essentially still is destruction of the Ukrainian nation. So we aren't supposed to be a thing, and they announce it. They are open about it. They say it. So Ukrainian identity should stop existing. They call it a disease, loudly, proudly. No problem there. They what I love about them is they announce everything they think and they do. That's kind of you don't have to like dig in into anyone's psychology to find what they want. So for them, that was the main goal, and of course, taking it back under Russian control and essentially making it into at best, like sort of like a vassal thing, but at worst, just straight up Russia, right? So you're either like a Belarus pseudo country, or you are, something like Armenia. Essentially, so it's totally and fully under Russian control. Every major factory, production, resource, everything owned by Russians. Everything works for Russians. Total corruption, lawlessness. Everything is under that, which we had. Which we had. It's not like we didn't have it before. Like for example, 2014, right? Maidan revolution. Pretty much every industry was owned by either Russian citizen or a person with dual Russian citizenship. So Russian oligarchs, things like that. And the country only existed to enrich them and to elevate them, not anyone in Ukraine, not, that's one of the main reasons why people wanted to be in European Union and went to go to Maidan revolution at first, right? Because they wanted that sort of thing to change, as to stop the basically oligarchs just milking everyone in this country for their benefit. So yeah, that's the goal. The goal is the same, and in order for them to achieve that, at first they kind of thought they can get away with having a quick easy little war that they will win, as they did in Georgia, for example, or Moldova, right? But it didn't work out that way for them. So kind of like you can see it in their own kind of the way the propaganda, how they talked about it. If you find a sort of like a timeline of how the rhetoric change, you can see it. At first, it was we need to take down Kiev regime. We need to change the government of Zelensky, evil Nazi banderite regime, right? And then they would be like, there's a small group of those evil Nazi Ukrainians that we need to eliminate, and everyone else in Ukraine is our brothers and sisters, all of that. Then it turns out that the we are resisting hardcore. People are enlisting in insane numbers, like absolutely, like at the beginning, right? In 22, people went. Everyone who didn't went to the army started doing Molotov cocktails, shooting at them from windows. So it didn't go like that. So the rhetoric then changed, like, okay, so they're not a little group of those banderites. It's kind of like a bigger group. So you need to kill like not 10,000 people, but like 100,000 people. And then it becomes clear years go, the resistance continues. And they're like, you know what? Actually, all of those Ukrainians are fucking. Fucking evil banderites, and we need to put them in their place, okay? And then it shifts even further in more of a genocidal zone, right? When there are like babies are targets because they will grow to be evil banderites, right? So everyone is a target, freeze them to death by destroying their power stations, heaters, everything. So it kind of like goes like this. So usually the aim is Snyder. Timothy Snyder actually puts it in a very good, much better than I ever could language, because he's an expert, on all of that. But that's how it usually goes. What I mean is people generally aren't as ambitious as Hitler was, So the guy was number one hater, in my opinion.
Hmm.
He was so hell bent on destroying the Jews that he would even sacrifice his own expansionist, imperialist goals towards his military campaign. Right? He would sacrifice that to kill more Jews, right? So that's ambitious plan to kill all people of a certain ethnicity or a certain nation. It's not many people undertake it. With Russia, it always has been you try step by step, right? So that's what they did to Ukraine historically, and that's what they did to other nations they subjugated as well. You kill the toughest cookies, so the most resilient people, the most willful people, the people strong enough to fight, and you see if the nation then becomes conformists, terrified to do anything against you, good. You don't need to waste like resources to kill more people. You don't need to waste anything. You just, but if it doesn't happen, you up the terror to a point where they comply eventually, because most people, they can't tolerate things like that forever. So yeah, for example, Ukraine is a thorn in their side, I suppose, historically, because we have always been a little bit unhinged. We refused to comply. We resistance just kept popping up. They would like kill hundred thousands of people, sometimes millions if it's Holodomor, for example, right? And it's just people still resist again. So we have been like a little bit of a thorn in their side. But also, for example, countries like Moldova and Georgia that really can't afford it as well because they're super small. They have like we are 30 times less in size than Russia. Just to think about, like Ukraine is Russia is 30 times our size. So imagine if you're like a Moldova or Georgia or something like that. It's like becomes even less plausible to resist. So yeah, that's what they do, and then they terrorize you to the point that generations live in conformity, just in fear of this sort of thing happening to them. So yeah.
Okay.